gentlemen, Mr. Butler's been up north, I hear. Don't you agree with this, Mr. Butler?
I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean, Mr. Hamilton, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South.
What difference does that make, sir, to a gentleman?
I'm afraid it's going to make a great deal of difference to a great many gentlemen, sir.
Are you hinting, Mr. Butler, that the Yankees can lick us?
No, I'm not hinting. I'm saying very plainly that the Yankees are better equipped than we. They've got factories, shipyards, coal mines, and a fleet to bottle up our harbors and starve us to death. All we've got is cotton and slaves and arrogance.
That's treachery!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this video finds you. Welcome to Ticks. Ooh, I've been waiting on this ever since I got done seeding the grass and saw it had popped up. So let's check in on our girl Karoline Levitt. I know she's got a lot to talk about in a 30-minute and 49-second presser, which we will stretch out to 2 hours probably. Excuse me. So let's get started, shall we?
Good afternoon. Good to see all of you. I want to begin today's briefing by addressing the horrific shooting that took place yesterday at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where a deranged shooter opened fire during morning mass, killing an innocent 8-year-old and 10-year-old. 14 other children and 3 adults were also injured during this horrible tragedy. This was the first morning mass of the school year for these beautiful, innocent children, and this sacred religious service was desecrated by an evil monster. We are all eternally grateful to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders whose courage and swift response aided all of those impacted by this horrible tragedy. As Director Kash Patel confirmed yesterday, the FBI is currently investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday following his call with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-mast. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join all of us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. The White House and the FBI will continue to provide further updates as they become available. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for you today. The president will travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, September 23rd. On another matter, as Americans make their Labor Day weekend travel plans, they will be able to enjoy 5-year low gas prices thanks to President Trump fully unleashing American energy dominance. President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable again. These savings at the pump are giving everyday American families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always. For decades, the hardworking men and women of our country who built the greatest nation in world history were sold out by selfish, greedy, short-sighted globalists who put our country on a path to economic and cultural ruin. They followed out our factories and towns and betrayed the American working class by shipping jobs overseas and importing millions of low-wage migrants to replace American workers. Under President Trump, this national disgrace is over. American workers are once again being put at the center of national trade policy, and the dignity of American labor is being defended. As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill them.
By the way, that's your billionaire tax cut that they're talking about. People act like when they say, oh, he's giving tax cuts to billionaires, you know, as if they're taking the tax cuts and putting them in their pockets. Like, no, your tax cuts are all based on you opening businesses within the United States. You get land tax breaks, you get materials tax breaks, because he's making them build their own power plants. So that way they're not sucking too much power off of the city, thus driving up the cost of power throughout the city, or at least within that area. So they have their own power grid that they are paying that electricity bill on, not off of, siphoning off the city. Do you understand now? Making them build their factories, their office parks, their roadways, their response, and their power grids from scratch. They're responsible for all of it. So here's a tax break. Not so you can go jet skiing off the coast of the Riviera.
In fact, since President Trump took office, the economy has added more than 500,000 new jobs to the workforce. In a stark reversal from the Biden administration, all of that job creation has been driven by private sector growth, and all employment gains have gone to native-born Americans. Wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in the past 60 years. And the average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year alone. Thanks to the largest middle tax cuts ever signed into law by President Trump, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, Americans in all 50 states will keep more of their hard-earned money. The average American taxpayer will see a tax cut of nearly $4,000 because of these pro-growth provisions, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. In other news, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to restore law and order to our nation's capital. Since President Trump's intervention, there have been more than 1,283 arrests right here in the District of Columbia. Total crime in DC is down 19%, and violent crime is down 30%. Carjackings in the district are down 67%. Homicides are down 57%. Robberies are down 40%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 32%. And assaults with dangerous weapons are down 23%. And property crime is down 18%. These numbers prove the president's bold actions to make DC safe and beautiful again are working, just like he said they would. And that's why on Monday, the president took additional action to sign an executive order taking steps to ensure that cashless bail in Washington, D.C. is eliminated. For too long, D.C.'s reckless cashless bail policies have allowed dangerous criminals to be quickly released, which endangers everyone who lives in and visits our wonderful capital.
Yeah, I saw a video where this black dude, he was getting arrested, and he was pretty much telling the cameraman, just like that Haitian dude that was thanking Joe Biden for, hey, look, just because I'm arrested, I'll be set free in just a matter of a couple of hours. I'll be out before the week is up. Well, the black dude, of course, in typical wife beater, nappy afro, was saying he'll be out in 3 days. Last time I was out in 3 days. I'll be out in 3 days again. Yeah, no. See, when you don't watch the news, bruh, you wind up like the Hispanic kid that was with the black kid out in Oakland that ran over that retired cop that was on the bike, and he was in the back seat telling the cops he'll be out within 30 days because he was 17 years old. And it's like, yeah, we'll see. I don't know if he was convicted or not, but he was definitely, they waited until he was 18 years old and they tried him as an adult for murder. It's like, you don't get you can probably delete a local citizen and get away with it, but not a government or former government official, especially a cop. No, they'll throw the book at you for that. But if it was just like me or you or whatnot, and he either ran us over on the road while we was bicycling, yeah, he probably would have been out within 30 days. I mean, it was just that bad when they talk about crime stats being lower, because that's what they do. They lessen the charges. They probably would have got him for reckless driving. Pamela Price out there in Oakland, horrible DA, horrible DA, horrible DA. Tried to get a judge kicked off the bench because he was doing his job, which was sentencing criminals to prison. She wanted him to toss cases and give out wrist slaps for like serious violent crimes like homicide. Great. Anyway.
No cash bail has also foolishly forced law enforcement to repeatedly arrest the same offenders over and over again, only for them to be released back into our nation's capital. This is the definition of insanity, and the president is seeking to end it. He also signed a separate executive order addressing the crime emergency in D.C. by instructing the National Park Service to hire additional United States Park Police officers to support public safety, and directing the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. to hire additional prosecutors to focus solely on violent and property crimes.
You want a job?
So while liberal Democrats across the country continue to double down on their failed soft on crime approach, the American people, including local D.C. leadership, business owners, and residents, are rallying behind President Trump's crime crackdown. According to new polling, 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country. And a clear majority of Americans believe the president's actions are justified and necessary to reduce crime in these cities. Indu Bhatia, who runs a liquor store a half mile from the White House here just down the street, is one of those Americans who are grateful for President Trump's public safety push. Indu recently told the New York Post that her store was robbed so many times that they had to spend exorbitant sums of money on security, jeopardizing her family's financial future. But thanks to President Trump's strong action, Indu said, quote, "All of my employees, including me, we feel much safer, and even our customers feel really happy when they walk into our store." And just yesterday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump for surging federal law enforcement personnel and said neighborhoods, quote, "feel and are much safer."
Yeah, that chick is schizo. I'm drinking the Synergy Watermelon Wonder kombucha. It's not as bitter as the other ones, but, you know, Synergy is not bitter. It has a bitter taste, but it's not too bitter. At any rate, yeah, the DC mayor, that chick is schizo. First she didn't want it, then she wanted it, then she didn't want it. Now she's congratulating. It's like, chick, look, either you're gonna put on both the pads or not. You know, make up your mind. You can't be like Kaepernick taking a knee and, you know, just fumbling the sack and stroking the shaft. But what you gonna do? Either, you know, you're gonna beat around the bush or you're gonna take the whole thing in. What are we doing here? Make up your mind. Make up your mind. So now I guess she's decided to, you know, I'm trying not to be vulgar, but, you know, she decided to close her eyes and just do it. I don't want to, but I'm thank you, President Trump.
We thank Mayor Bowser for her cooperation and her willingness to help us make DC safe and beautiful. This entire effort has vindicated what President Trump and law and order advocates have been saying for years. And this is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice. You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades. The President Trump approach of upholding law and order by letting our brave men and women in blue actually do their jobs to aggressively fight crime works. In just a few weeks, President Trump has done more for DC residents than Democrats did in 50 years. And this can be replicated in other crime-ridden cities across the nation. As President Trump has said, all of these elected officials in charge have to do is pick up the phone and ask for the president and the federal government's help. President Trump doesn't care if they are a Republican or a Democrat leader. He wants Americans to be safe and for every law-abiding American citizen across the country to be able to thrive in their city and in their community. With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have
Yeah, because I mean, let's just be honest. Midnight basketball and swimming and, you know, social worker Shanice and all these little rec center stuff, you know, all this little goofy stuff does not work. It doesn't work. You seriously, it's time to take a serious tough crack on crime. And unfortunately, a lot of the crime that goes on in the cities is done by young black people who victimize other black people. Now, of course, you can say proximity all you want to. Okay. But with us being 13% of the population, we're not 13% in one central location. We're scattered all across the United States. Why do we victimize each other the most, but yet want to scream Black Lives Matter? I mean, we know it's BS. We knew it was a scam from the outright. Tariq told us that from the outset when he went out to Ferguson, Missouri, where it all started all them years ago with Michael Brown. We knew it was a scam all the way back then. I mean, you can sit up here and try to say that it was, you know, I'm not even gonna argue about that. I don't have the time or the patience. But you knew it was a scam way back then. Something has to be done. And that means that you have to deploy the National Guard, and do understand that regardless of what Brandon Johnson wants or Fred Flintstone, aka Pritzker, no matter what they want, no matter what Michelle Wu out in Boston or the other Johnson out in Denver, Colorado, or Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass want, no matter what they want, it doesn't matter. The National Guard is coming to clean up the illegals problem. They're just working out the legalities right now. Working out the legalities, planning ahead. They already know what areas in which cities that they're going to target. It's just a matter of mobilizing the troops, making sure that they can get it done before they have to start dealing with the frivolous lawsuits that are going to be rejected. Just like Alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, you know, you got 60 days to clear it out. Well, DeSantis said we can have it done within the week. We can deport everybody in here out of here within the week. Don't worry, we're going to challenge this, but while you sit here and do all of this garbage about environmental stuff and everything, we'll just build another one somewhere else. This is Florida. We have plenty of land. You're not stopping anything. You're just pulling the plug. You're pulling the plug. Somebody, hey, plug it back in. All right. You know, you're not doing any damage. You're just delaying the inevitable. Let's go.
Social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, wow.
I really appreciate it.
Charles' favorite person. Charles' favorite person, Brandon Tatum, Officer Tatum. But I was not expecting this. Keep in mind, I'm watching this the same time y'all watching it fresh. I had no idea. But this is the what you're seeing, like when you saw Tim Pool sitting in that seat. I'm telling you, the Democratic media apparatus is done. It's done. I guarantee you this dude's gonna get more subs after this press conference, he's going to see a surge in subs. But this is why MSNBC is being branched off to some crappy little company that nobody's ever heard of. And now they're changing the names to MS Now. I can't wait to see what happens to CNN. And if MS Now still wants to continue with that Rachel Maddow, the sky is falling ideology, or they're hosting Amanda Seals, who's, not talking loud but saying nothing. They want to keep going that way. They're going to run out of funding real quick, and that network is going to collapse. It's already collapsing. Why do you think NBC wants nothing to do with it? So either they can change their tactics and find themselves sitting in this media seat, or they can continue with the sky is falling, Trump bad rhetoric, and then eventually, boom, go kaput. Just like CNN is getting ready to go kaput. We'll see what happens.
That follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making the sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. Anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure.
I have to say, I mean, I don't watch Brandon Tatum videos. I see him. He's in my algorithm because of other people that I watch. I watch other black men who are of the independent/Republican ideology that look like somebody that would probably be in the manosphere or whatnot, but they're not. I watch those brothers' takes, but Brandon Tatum is usually in my algorithm. I don't watch his stuff, but he does have some interesting videos. I see his titles and I'm like, because I already know which way he's going to go, and to each his own. But those were some two really good questions, especially the one on Chicago. I definitely want to see how she responds to that. I just want to get that out there because I have to do my interruptions, so I'm not getting flagged for copyright infringement. But let's go.
Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances. And so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again. And I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% 100% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will. Gabe.
The funny thing about it is Amanda Seals, she don't want to hear that. She don't want to hear about facts, data, and statistics. She'd rather go off of emotions. You say Memphis need the truth more than Chicago? Yeah. Good Lord. I mean, you got black cops beating brothers to death out in Memphis. I'm not laughing, but laughing like, it's funny. I'm laughing because it's sad. I mean, you talk about black on black crime. Tyree Nichols. Yeah, those brothers. Look, those brothers, for those of y'all who don't remember the case of Tyree Nichols, or maybe you all don't remember the outcome of that case. The outcome was they were found guilty. All four were found guilty of murder by the federal government, but they weren't sentenced. They weren't sentenced yet. The state dropped the charges. The state decided to drop the charges. They didn't find them guilty. They just decided to drop the charges because they're going to get at least a mandatory minimum 20 years in the federal pen. Once because they haven't been sentenced yet by the feds, but they will be. Hey, just now. Okay, thank you. They will be sentenced later this year. So yeah, so those dudes going to jail. They're going to prison. I know, like you had people like Tim Black and all them. Oh, this is a travesty. Oh, they got the charges. Oh, they getting off. No, bro. No. You're gonna run a news show. I mean, a simple Google, Microsoft, AI, whatever would have told you why the state dropped the charges. This wasn't no case of they beating the charges. No, feds already got them locked and loaded. Therefore, they're not getting any pardons. They're not going to get a reduced sentence because of the state. There will be no wiggle room out of this. They're going to do at least 85% of their sentence before they even talk about, well, let's have a parole hearing for him. No, relax. But excuse me. Yeah, but I think Memphis is definitely one of those cities that. Memphis is definitely one of those cities that they're definitely going to hit. Sorry, this kombucha. These things make me gassy. I apologize. Let's go.
And thanks for being here, Brandon.
Karoline, thank you so much. First on the firing of the CDC director.
All right, here we go. We got our girl right here that with the horrible shoes. Let's see if we got the California cutie. Is this California cutie in the blue dress? We're gonna find out. Let's get to it. Sorry. So he's talking about the fire director of the CDC down here in Atlanta. Okay. I think some other people, some other goofy white liberal chicks that worked there protested her firing or something like that. And I think they wound up getting firing. Let's see. Let me stop. Let me play.
We'll replace her. And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do wrong?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't. So the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. A new replacement will be announced by either the president or the secretary very soon. And the president and Secretary Kennedy are committed to restoring trust and transparency and credibility to the CDC by ensuring their leadership and their decisions are more public-facing, more accountable, strengthening our public health system, and restoring it to its core mission of protecting Americans from communicable diseases, investing in innovation to prevent, detect, and respond to future threats. That's the mission of the CDC, and we're going to make sure that folks that are in positions of leadership there are aligned with that mission.
That chick thought she was so privileged that she owned her job, that she was unfireable. If the president tell you to do something, chick, you do it. It's your job. You don't want to do your job? Fine, I'll find somebody else to do it. Meanwhile, they putting your security is putting your stuff in trash bags. It'll be waiting for you outside the back door. Yeah, the employee interest. Yes. Yeah, we're already. Yeah, see how we're already taking your badge, your security badge. Yeah. They're here to escort you out. Goodbye. I don't care if you call your lawyer. What's he gonna do?
On another topic, alligator Alcatraz. Last week, a judge on an environmental concerns lawsuit said that the administration had 60 days to wind down operations there, state officials did. Now, the administration has not been shy in fighting back against what it calls activist judges, but why is it backing down this time?
We're not backing down. We've always said that we are going to continue to fight in the court of law for what's right, because we know that what this administration is doing with respect to all policy, but also immigration policy, is above the books, and we're abiding by our nation's immigration laws. And we think it's despicable that an activist judge has inserted themselves in this migrant detention facility to the point where DHS is now having to relocate these illegal immigrants to other detention facilities around the country. That is an unnecessary burden on the Department of Homeland Security and these agents who should be removing these criminals from our community. That's what the American people elected this president to do. So we've always maintained, Gabe, we're going to comply with court orders, but we're also going to fight back on them on the merits of the law. And DHS is in compliance while we disagree with this decision, and we'll continue to fight it in court.
Yeah, like they closing, or the judge ruled against alligator Alcatraz because of it disturbs the environment. Some tree hugger crap. Oh, the alligators can't swim naturally because there's some criminal illegals up on the land. Some goofy stuff like that.
Let's go to...
Hey,
Go ahead.
Thanks so much. So just following up on that.
All right, so who we got here? All right, so that's not... Okay, so here's California Cutie out here in this, what's that? Purple, bright pink, hot pink. All right, so there she is. Never seen her before. Oh, look, her shoes actually her shoes actually matches her outfit today. She got on some boots. Okay. All right, she stepping up her shoe game finally. Let's see here. There's Caitlin Collins. I'm sure she'll probably ask a stupid question. She can't help herself. They, them. All right, so I remember this guy. He's a well-known reporter. I can't remember his name right off the bat, though. I don't see Peter Ducey. He's not there. Yeah, not a lot of color in the room today, but that's fine. I know, for those of y'all that matter. I mean, we've made it a game, right? We've made it a game.
DC firing.
Sure.
Are you anticipating other changes there at CDC in addition to that firing? And is the administration going through in a very sort of organized fashion? Is there a task force that's going through high-level appointees to see who is?
Yeah, she is nice.
With the mission?
She is nice.
More
tall too.
Not to my knowledge. I understand there were a few other individuals who resigned after the firing of Ms. Monarez. One of those individuals wrote in his departure statement that he identifies pregnant women as pregnant people. So that's not someone who we want in this administration anyway. So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
I am so glad that weirdo liberal extremists, the party of the Ku Klux Klan, the party of slavery, the most racist party in the history of the world. I am so glad that they are removing themselves from the American workforce, especially at a time where, thanks to the big beautiful bill, their able-bodied selves can only be on Section 8 and food stamps and welfare for 2 years at max. I am so glad that they're doing it. I am so glad that they're doing it, because do understand, just because you filed for it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So please quit your jobs. Please quit your high salary jobs because you want to call a pregnant woman a pregnant person, because you're stupid enough to think that a man can get pregnant. Not even a biological man. Just a female presenting as a male, like a stud. We all know studs can get pregnant because studs are women. But because they identify as males, you think that they are actual males. So therefore, like a moron, you think that males can get pregnant, therefore pregnant persons. Thank you. We don't need you crackpots working at the CDC, or I don't even need you working at Chick-fil-A with that type of stupidity. You're not even qualified to work fast food. Get the hell up out of here. Go wash somebody's cars, sell some lemonade. You done put some Sugar Avery pea in on the side of the road, something.
Go to the back.
Thank you, Caroline.
Go behind you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. The military deployment that President Trump has sent to the Caribbean Sea close to the shores with Venezuela is massive. It's much more that is needed to simply counter narcotics operations. Is President Trump considering launching military strikes to military installments?
All right, I'm sorry. I was looking for him, but I didn't quite hear what he said. But it sounds like he's talking about that battleship that's off the coast of Venezuela, that's there to fight the drug trafficking, the drug trade coming out of Venezuela. So let's let him re-ask the question now that I found him.
Go to the back.
Thank you, Caroline.
Go behind you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. The military deployment that President Trump has sent to the Caribbean Sea close to the shores with Venezuela is massive. It's much more that is needed to simply counter narcotics operations. Is President Trump considering launching military strikes to military installments or facilities in Venezuelan soil?
I won't get.
Okay, hold on. Why is this dude wearing a toupee? Look at this natural hair. Can y'all see that? Look at his natural hair. It's like black people hair. And then you got his mustache, which matches his hair. And then you've got this Walter Cronkite hairdo on the top of his. My brother, stop! My brother in Christ, what the hell are you wearing on your head? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? Okay, let's get to her answer. Oh my God, okay.
Ahead of the president with respect to any military action or questions about that ever. But what I will tell you is that many Caribbean nations and many nations in the region have applauded the administration's counter drug operations and efforts. And the president is prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. And as I've said from this podium before, the Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. Maduro is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this drug cartel. He has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into our country. And it is the utmost responsibility of this president and this administration to prevent the illicit flow of drugs into our country and to protect citizens from those deadly poisons. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes,
I couldn't find her. Sorry. But yeah, Jen Psaki is a hack. That chick's a loser. But
I saw the comments of my predecessor, Miss Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
you know, as a long confirmed atheist, it is a miracle. It is a miracle that only 2 children died and 17 were wounded, but 2 children died. When you saw what he had an AR-15. I have an AR-15. That's a very powerful rifle. You understand? Very powerful rifle. And he had handguns. It is a miracle. And you can call it an act of God if you want to. I don't care. It is a miracle, but only 2 children died in that church. They were in prayer. So you can either label it as the power of prayer works, or this guy was just a horrible shot. But it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And yeah, thoughts and prayers is something nice and comforting to say for people who are going through something tough. And I mean, it's pretty much running to the ground because so much crime happens. You know, these shootings are normal, just like, you know, carjackings, muggings, great robbery is normal. We've normalized it because it happens so frequently. But taking away people's right to bear arms, that's not the answer. We wind up looking like Europe, where they arrested just this week, they arrested a 14-year-old girl. Her and her 12-year-old friend, the 12-year-old had on some shorts, like shorts showing her legs, and some creepy 23-year-old African guy was following them, talking to them like they're grown women. So the girl pulled out her machete and the axe and told him to get the F away from them, stop following them. And he recorded the girl coming at him, you know, pretty much trying to defend herself. This is in Europe. In the UK, you know, they arrested the girl for having a weapon. They arrested the 14-year-old who was trying to defend herself from a rapist, because those dudes out there are raping these girls, these little young girls. They're literally raping them out on the streets, broad daylight, whatnot, because the UK will not punish them for the assault. They say it's part of their culture, not UK's culture, but these Africans and Arabs' culture. So therefore, it's legal. You shouldn't have been, you know, they blame the victim. You shouldn't have been showing your legs. You shouldn't have been wearing the skirt. Shouldn't have been wearing the dress. You should be walking around with a husband. I mean, they literally have enacted Sharia law in the UK. And they arrested the girl for having a blade. Not the creepy grown man that was stalking them. No. They have rape gangs in the UK where it's like a 5 or more men. They kidnap a girl off the street, usually underage, gang rape her, and when she goes to report it, they throw the girl in jail. On some, well, you led them on type shit. I kid you not. I swear to God, I bet they wish like hell they had guns. You'll never get rid of guns in this country because of stuff like that. because of stuff like that. They used to be afraid that we would have an uprising. Us as black people will never do an uprising. We're not stupid. But these illegals, these criminal illegals, oh, they will definitely do it. Let me tell you something. These white folks in America be damned if you try that with them. I've seen plenty of ring cam footage videos or whatnot with an ex-boyfriend trying to kick in the door, trying to get to the daughter, and the father blow that mother's head clean off, laying dead in the front yard, in the driveway, on the porch, wherever fast until he drops. You'll never get rid of guns in this country. Stop thinking it'll happen. Stop thinking you can disarm the American public so therefore you can let criminals run free to ravage this society. You are nuts.
My question for you is that there have been media outlets who have glazed over the fact that the shooter was confused in their gender identity. Does the administration believe that this element needs to be investigated in the shooting?
All of the elements are being investigated in the shooting, absolutely. Which is why part of the reason the FBI director came out and immediately confirmed that facet of the investigation. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions on two separate issues. First of all, the drone missile strikes that took place overnight in Ukraine. General Keith Kellogg, the president's special envoy, has described these attacks as egregious.
Oh, you're going to zoom in on him, but you're not going to zoom in on the other people. Thank you, White House cameraman. You are a SOB. And yes, this Asian woman is very cute. She's very cute. But this guy, he's like a big time reporter. I don't know his name, but he's pretty much made a name for himself. I'm surprised that him and his California surfer dude hairdo is sitting all the way back here in the back. But yeah, apparently Russia hit UK with some drone strikes last night while you were sleeping. So, and Trump did say, well, we didn't come to a ceasefire, but we did come to a deal. It's just a matter of getting Zelensky and, of course, Putin to the table. So they're still fighting over there.
Do you agree with that description? And do you view President Putin as an impediment to getting peace between these two countries?
Well, it's not about if I agree, it's about what the president thinks. And I know what the president thinks because I talked to him about this. He was not happy about this news, but he was also not surprised. These are two countries that have been at war for a very long time. Russia launched this attack on Kyiv, and likewise, Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently, and this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues, which is why the president wants it to end. And that's why he's worked harder than anyone to end this war, which would have never started if he were president. But perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves. The president wants it to end, but the leaders of these two countries need it to end and want it to end, must want it to end as well. And I think the president will make some additional statements on this later.
My second question has to do with,
Carrie,
I just had one more, if I may. It has to do with the president's intention to remove Lisa Cook as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. He is going or acting upon allegations that have been made by Trump administration official Bill Pulte. These are just allegations. She hasn't been convicted yet of any crime. Is the administration opposed to allowing Ms. Cook to have due process to challenge what has been alleged against her?
Yeah, this is another chick that Trump is firing or will fire, who's trying to call her lawyer because she feels that she owned the job and she's unfireable and all of this stuff. just flat out petty ridiculousness. But the charges that she's facing are serious. Let's go.
I believe she is challenging it. I believe she just filed a lawsuit today, and Mr. Pulte has deferred those allegations over to the Department of Justice to investigate them. What I will say is that you had these mortgage receipts very clearly shown to the president, and he has the cause that he needs to fire this individual. He laid it out in the letter that he provided to her and to the public as well. And so we'll continue to fight this battle.
Yeah, she pulled a she pulled a Letitia James. She pulled a Letitia James. So yeah, she's definitely getting fired. I mean, your signature is all over it, chick. And you will be facing criminal charges, but you're definitely getting fired for that. Let's go.
Sorry.
Hi, Caroline. So the president just announced that he wants to have a convention right before the midterms next year. The GNC has countered that they too want to have a convention right before the midterms as well. What's the White House's response to that? And can you give us just a little bit of a hint or tease here as to how the president envisions a convention for the midterms?
Look, the president put out a statement on this earlier today. I'll let him speak further on the plans that he envisions, but I think he's very proud of the accomplishments and the achievements of his administration, as he should be. The most secure border in United States history, a crackdown on crime here in our nation's capital, an attack or a reversal of the attack on our energy industry from the previous administration. As I just pointed out to you, gas prices today, this Labor Day, are the lowest they've been since Labor Day in 2020. Our economy is bringing in trillions of dollars in revenue from all over the world again. So there's so much for Republicans and for the president and for Americans across the country to be proud of. And I think the president wants to see that celebrated. But for any further details on this as they come, we'll provide you with them.
She asked about the midterms. All right. She asked about, I'm not going to stop on everyone, but she asked about the midterms. Is he afraid of losing the House because of the midterms? I was talking to Marsh today. I've talked to a couple of people about this. The way I see it going down is if he feels like they're not going to have the seats in order to retain the House, retain congressional power, and they've cleaned out a lot of the illegals by then, I would say by April, more than likely, a lot of congressional members or a few selected congressional members, Jasmine Crockett will probably go to jail anyway if they continue with their Act Blue investigation, because that's how she got her money, through illegal donations. But I think you're going to see some key Democrats looking at criminal charges. You say you thought the UK is pro-conservatives. It was up until 2020 when BlackRock got involved. Remember the people in France attacked the BlackRock building because they stole those people's pensions in France? Yeah, they were conservative. Then something flipped. BlackRock took over. And that was the end of the UK. It almost happened to us. That's why we got all these illegals in here. Criminal illegals at that. But yeah, I think you're gonna see some key Democrats with handcuffs facing charges. AOC perhaps, definitely Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass. All right, you already see that the mayor of Oakland, she was arrested and charged. You're going to see a lot of these people face charges. Probably Pritzker, definitely Brandon Johnson, the other Johnson out in Denver. You see, I see why celebrities moved out there in the UK. Yeah, because they like that ultra liberal, dark-skinned rapist, crime infested. They love that type of environment. It gives them a reason to be a bleeding heart and pretend that they're better than people. Yeah, but I think you're going to see a lot of these Democrat leaders. I think you're going to see them facing charges. Probably, if not by April, at least by June. I give it till June. I mean, I can be wrong, but you see a lot of Democrats are already facing criminal charges or under investigation, but a lot of people, they still got Lily Tino, that little trans dude that was walking around Disney in women's bathrooms. The state attorney general was investigating that. It's been damn near a month and a half. The dude had the videos all on his TikTok channel. How much time do you need to press charges against the guy? You got the evidence. He recorded it. What are you waiting on? Like this under investigation crap? Man, I hear it, but okay, show me some results.
Iris.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions on the shooting. What's the administration's message to some concerned parents across the country who might be now worried about their kids' safety in light of the latest incident?
We completely and totally understand the concerns of parents across the country. This tragedy it's heartbreaking. As a parent myself, there are no words to describe just the heartbreak that these families must be enduring, which is why the president and the first lady have encouraged everyone to continue to pray for these families and these victims. And it's why this administration is focused on removing public safety threats from our communities. And in fact, I can share with all of you that last night in Washington, D.C., when arrests were being made, there was an arrest of a juvenile right here in D.C. in Ward 7 for threats to kidnap and injure, receiving stolen property, possession of a large capacity feeding device, unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. A search warrant was executed, 7 firearms were recovered, and the juvenile was arrested after an investigation was initiated based on social media posts allegedly threatening violence towards a school. So this was a juvenile who was a risk to not just himself, but the community here in Washington, and he was removed from the community last night because of the law enforcement efforts of this administration. And I would also point to the statement of our wonderful First Lady that she released yesterday. She wrote, "The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. We encourage all Americans, as the old saying goes, if you see something, say something. If you see warning signs or threats, report it to law enforcement. This administration, federal law enforcement, will take those reports and those threats seriously. They will be treated as a law enforcement emergency, and we will act accordingly."
In all the First Lady's statement, would the administration consider ramping up resources on these fronts to parents and schools across the country to help them look into these signs and prevent more tragedies?
It's a very fair question, Iris. As for any potential future policy decisions or funding questions, it's just been over 24 hours since this tragedy occurred. Right now, we're focused on the FBI and their investigation and uncovering all the facts, and we'll leave those very important policy discussions to another day.
Thank you,
Go ahead. Megan.
I had a question about the Lisa Cook lawsuit that you mentioned. Does the president plan to wait until that lawsuit is resolved to appoint her replacement?
I will leave that to the president to make that decision in that announcement himself. Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. Bouncing off the CDC situation at CDC, I'm curious if administration officials are pushing back on the president's agenda, privately, publicly, however, should they fear to lose their jobs going forward?
Look, I think if you're doing your job well, and if you are executing on the vision and the promises that the president made to the public who elected him back to this office, then you should have no fear about your job. Just do your job. That's what
Thank
this
you.
president
Just
wants
do
to
your
see.
goddamn
He
job.
wants to see people solving problems. He wants to see the people who have the privilege of serving the American taxpayer and the federal government abiding by the wishes of the American taxpayers who overwhelmingly reelected him in this cabinet to make America great again, or in this case.
Imagine going to your job and not doing what your boss tell you to do. You gonna do it your way? Man, you be in HR signing paperwork so fast, turning in, getting your badge and your keys taken away so quick.
Please make America healthy again.
The Intel deal, where the U.S. got a stake in that company. Just two things I want to ask about that. The first is, what did the U.S. get back in return for that deal? And the second thing is, what are the future plans for giving any form of money to another company? It could be through the CHIPS Act, like this deal, or some other form of funds. What are the plans there by this White House administration?
Well, look, as you know, Brian, very well, because you cover it often, the Intel deal is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce. The T's are still being crossed, the I's are still being dotted. These it's very much still under discussion. But the president's thinking, I can share with you, is certainly to ensure that the United States government is making our country wealthy again and is benefiting from some of these deals. And it's a creative solution. I know it's outside the box thinking, which is uncommon in this city, but it's something that he proposed and something that the Secretary of Commerce is working on putting into action. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a couple questions on the shooting yesterday. The first one, this is the second shooting involving a trans-identifying shooter who specifically targeted Christians and Catholic kids. What kind of consequences do the gender-affirming therapists, doctors, or even the parents of these shooters face after these types of shootings?
Well, as for the parents and potential therapists in this case, again, all of that is still currently being investigated by the FBI. I know the Secretary of Health and Human Services this morning said that HHS is investigating perhaps links between some of these drugs and these prescription drugs that some of these minors may be taking and an increase in violence. And obviously we have mental health problems in this country that this administration and Secretary Kennedy will continue to speak out about and the work that we're doing to solve it.
Thank you. And just to follow up.
I'm going to say this now. In all honesty, if you are a therapist that lied and told a teenager, that they were born in the wrong body and suggested that they were trans, you should be charged with child endangerment and grooming, but more than likely child endangerment, and you should lose your license. At the very least, you should lose your license. You should lose your license. And if you are a doctor and you perform these surgeries, these sterilizing surgeries on children where you've given girls double mastectomies under the age of 18, you're mutilating these children. You should, at the very least, you should lose your license. You should automatically lose your license, never to be served. You should go to school for nothing. That's child abuse. You all participated in child abuse. You put these kids on these drugs. You should lose your licenses, if not jail time, but you should definitely permanently lose your licenses. You've destroyed a generation of children who can't have kids. In a climate where the birth rate is declining. Excuse me. That's your Democratic Party. You should lose your license.
I've seen a lot of calls for action, among these lawmakers saying that we shouldn't just be praying. One that I've seen on the right actually is calls for the FBI to institute a new class of domestic terrorism that involves trans ideology. Is that something that the administration would support?
I would have to check with the appropriate people on that.
You know what? I say yes. I would say yes, because if you're going to label these lone white males as domestic terrorists, and now you've got what? We're on our 4th, 5th trans shooter. Then yes, you need to classify them as domestic terrorists. You need to classify them as domestic terrorists, just like you need to start classifying these YNs that's out here robbing, raping, killing, stealing as domestic terrorists. You're a threat to society. It's not like you.
Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. We saw some new revised economic data come out today showing the U.S. economy moved 3.3% clip, largely buoyed by a surge in capex. What's the White House reaction to this, and is this sort of the president's vision beginning to come to life after the Big Beautiful Bill was passed in July?
Yes, I mean, look, we did say that once the Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law, we're going to see the effects of this massive pro-growth piece of legislation. As I laid out for you as we head into the Labor Day weekend, there's many positive economic indicators that the American people can be hopeful about. But don't forget, we are reversing 4 years of reckless spending from the previous administration of slamming regulations down the throats of American business owners and consumers across the country. But the administration is working very hard to unravel all of that and to ensure that small business owners and workers are thriving and that they have more money in their own pockets to spend. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Back on the CDC, there was reporting that some of the initial problems between RFK and the CDC director stemmed from miscommunications or differences on vaccine policy. So I wonder if you could just say whether or not the president believes that the COVID vaccine should be available to and covered by insurance for all Americans, regardless of age and pre-existing conditions.
What I will tell you is that the FDA recently revoked the emergency use authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas. The reason for the revocation of that emergency use authorization is because obviously the COVID pandemic and the public health emergency is over. But just to correct the record, because there's been a lot of misinformation on this, the FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice. That's a promise both the president and the secretary have made, and it's a promise they have now delivered on.
Question if I could, Caroline. Question if I could, sorry. I wonder if you could answer why the president hasn't acknowledged the shooting at CDC headquarters that took place earlier in August, where a police officer was killed, and it was reported that the motivation for the shooting was somebody who was really unhappy with the effects of the COVID vaccine.
We absolutely were very much aware of that shooting. The Secretary of Health and Human Services put out a statement immediately. He was in touch with the CDC, and he actually traveled to Georgia to assess the situation and to mourn with the people who work in that building there. So, go ahead.
With respect to Labor Day, one of the most underrepresented groups right now are police officers. 30,000 police officers short in America right now. To Brandon's question, 1,300 short in Chicago, 3,000 short in New York, 500 short here in Washington, D.C. What can the White House, what can the president do to help recruitment of police officers? You've done well with the military and Border Patrol. What can be done before police officers on the streets of America?
Well, the president has certainly been very successful in recruiting federal law enforcement. If you look at the ICE recruitment campaign that was led by he and our Secretary of Homeland Security, we've seen more than, I believe, 130,000 applicants to join ICE, which is just amazing. There's more applicants now than there are jobs to fill, and we're very grateful for that. Clearly, Americans want to serve their communities. They just need a leader who encourages them to do so. So maybe Governor Pritzker should spend less time demonizing the police, more time trying to recruit more police, and more time trying to call the president of the United States to get crime in his city under control. The president wants to allow law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, to do their jobs, to arrest criminals, to put them behind bars, and to remove public safety threats from American communities. He'll continue to do that. Thank you.
You know, in all honesty, if you really want to fill the police roles in Washington, D.C., all those applicants that signed up to join ICE be like, hey, look, all right, we want to know if you are not cut out to work for ICE, do you want to be a cop in DC? The same benefits apply. You still get the signing bonus. We still take care of your student loan debt. You still get all the benefits. Everything that you would have gotten as an ICE agent, you'll get the same thing if you decide to be a cop here in DC. We got you, homie. We got you. What you want to do? That's how you take care of the lack of cops in DC. But the one thing you're definitely going to have to do, you're going to have to fire that police chief. That chick doesn't know. She don't have a gut. That chick is clueless. She has to go. She has to go. So that was beautiful. Shall we let it go? Shall we call? Yeah, let's call it a night. Let's call it a night. I want to thank y'all for coming out tonight. I appreciate y'all. I do. I really do. We'll see what's popping tomorrow. I know a lot of things popped off today, but you know, I'm only going to try to work this down to one video a day. I don't want to, well, at least one subject per video. I don't want to overdo it. Uh-oh, hold on. But what's say? Oh, all right, yeah. So we'll see what happens, y'all. I can't wait to see when the troops hit Chicago. Thanks. Yeah, it'll be awesome to see what happens when the troops hit Chicago. I want to see a look on that coon Brandon Johnson's face. That's going to be hilarious. All right, y'all be safe.
President Trump, real asshole. Why he wanna deport all these Chineses and Mexicans and shit? If you deport us, where you gonna get your nails done, huh? No more mani-pedi for you, asshole. You like kung pao chicken? Well, no more kung pao chicken for you. You like star belly? Yes. Well, no more star belly for you, because then no Mexicans no more. They can't pick your star bellies no more, asshole.
I don't care.
Why is that wrong?
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
Well, a couple things. Number one, whether you're an athlete or anyone else, if I hear you use the phrase "my truth," I immediately then discount everything else you say, because there isn't my truth or your truth. There's just the truth. And when you start using phrases like that, it tells me that
That's not true.
Your brain has been captured by something that I don't really respect.
That's not true.
Number two.
That's not true.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
category of crime?
One thing I'll just get a little emotional about is it does, as a woman, feel pretty. I feel like the humanity of women and their rights. But yeah, I mean, the white woman fake crying thing, I could do it too, but and then you just turn it off. No one cares. And even in the face of Trump and everything that he represented, that's a tough pill.
Because y'all got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of y'all. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
That's what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
You don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that?
I'm also the supervisor of Thorn Township. So when do I have time for little people? I don't. They beneath me. They beneath me.
And not let people feed you poison.
And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet